Welcome to another Providence Threads, where this season we are looking at the multiplication of disciples and leaders, as well as new ministries and churches. And today we have two very famous guests to join us for Providence Threads. Lois, the last time you were on a podcast, you were on with Lecrae himself, right? So Grammy-nominated Lecrae, and now you're going to be on Providence Threads. So we are honored. And you are along with Milly, our good friend from Uganda. And I want to introduce you to the Providence Threads community by asking this question. How did the two of you first meet, and how did you have this lasting friendship that's growing into something even more?
I came to Western Seminary as a student of THM in 2000. And I was here for one whole year, but I didn't meet Lois. I had my friends Myra and Bill and Helen Brownson and Amy, a student who was my roommate, but I just couldn't bump into Lois. And I went back. Lois came to Uganda in 2003 after I had left Western Seminary. And for the graduation of Titus and Stephen, I think, to celebrate that graduation, because they also came to Western Seminary when I had gone after me. So because of Bill and Helen, they had to come to visit me in my church, which I was ministering in. And all the team from the U.S. came with Bill and Helen, including Lois. And we started talking about many things, especially about scripture. And to my fascination, Lois knew more than my other American friends. I could see her really in the Bible itself.
Yes.
When with the other friends of mine, we were just friends, but we didn't talk much about scripture. So there we really caught the fire together and started burning together. I think that is how far I could mention. That is 2003. Then in 2005, Lois was going on trip to Israel with other folks, and she requested if I could come with her. I said, of course. Since I'm a teacher of Old Testament, I teach about the land of Israel, and so it will be good for me to see that with my own eyes and have that experience. So that's how I got to know Lois better. I traveled to Israel from Uganda, and she came with some people to take me up from the airport and Tel Aviv, and then we went together, we studied together, we slept in the same room. It was great. Only that sometimes Lois will not wake up early. And
Busted.
after I take bath and do everything, I'm like, Lois, it's time to go.
That's right. My trick was to quickly make a little sandwich on the running out the door and then eating it on the bus on the way out to the trip. Everybody else had a leisurely breakfast. I came to breakfast at the last minute. So Milly and I got to know me pretty well. That's Israel. You get to know each other well when you go to Israel.
So Lois, you've had a love of the land of Scripture, and here's just a couple of books that Lois has written and partnered with writing over the past couple of years. I highly suggest picking them up. They're excellent. But one of the partnerships between the two of you is you're like, hey, let's write a book together. And give me the title again, because I always say it's like reading the Bible in first person. Am I getting that right? Or is that shifting? Or
well, what Milly's, I get to brag for Milly. So Milly can't say it. When she was at Western Seminary, Tom Bogart was the Old Testament professor. And when he had her in class, and he'd be talking about that God tells Abraham to take a ram and a goat, a heifer, and he doesn't even say what to do next, but Abraham knows you
cut them in half,
blood path, and they're going to walk through it. And so he's telling about this to all of these students, and Milly says, yes, my grandfather has done this, and this is how it works. And she kept saying these amazing cultural insights throughout the semester. He would remark, Milly, it's like you read the Bible as an insider. And so that's what tentatively it might change, but reading the Bible as an insider is what it's about.
So taking these cultural things that maybe to us Westerners, we're like, what is going on here? And we may skip over it or we don't see the importance. You're picking up some of those key insights and putting it into a book for us to understand.
Yeah, that's right.
So you've been working on this for the last little bit. And Milly, you've come back. I applaud you coming back to really crazy, cold, wintry Michigan and even Uganda. Come in the summer next time. But you've been coming back and forth working on this book. So I'm curious too, from a discipleship kind of perspective, what are some key insights that you're starting to gravitate to in this book?
I think we are dealing with texts which seem either they can be misunderstood by a Westerner or which tend to be difficult for a Westerner. I'm bringing my cultural perspective. This is how we look at it, and then we are looking at it together in the biblical narrative, especially Old Testament narrative. Does my people's understanding match with the biblical narrative? Does it bring the same meaning? We are looking at these nuances, and we are trying to pick up the metaphors, and which may be confusing.
Yeah.
And we are trying to look at them in my cultural perspective and say, my people look at it this way. What does it mean actually? So we go back to dig out those, and then where we find they really collaborate together, and then we say, surely in this area, my culture can shed light for understanding this. Yeah.
So is there a story or two that you, bring it up.
Well, one of the most basic ways, one of the most basic ways that has helped me, and it's I'm the one who is the receiver here, is I remember back when I was in confirmation class, we were learning Jesus saying you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind and strength. And I remember I was like a little heretic. I was, high schoolers, they're kind of jerky, and I remember in my head, I thought, I don't even like the God of the Old Testament, much less love him with all my heart. What if I go with that? So I sat there going, I don't even like that God. Well, and, one of the things, it just makes me laugh, is, a lot of us get to the book of Leviticus and like, sacrifices?
Yeah.
What? And so when I went to visit Milly, I had to laugh because she had goats running around. And I said, are these pets? Or are they keeping your lawn short? And she goes, no, they're to eat for Christmas and Easter. Like, people eat meat. They kill animals and they eat them. And the idea is that you're inviting the Lord. Well, you're sitting together with the Lord and sharing a lovely feast with him that is a privilege to join, not that you just want to do violent things to animals. And so, there's a whole spectrum, but it all of a sudden changes your
perspective. And when I've been in Israel before, where, a lamb was slaughtered right? And you see that.
Yeah.
And it, to a Westerner, when you don't see that every day,
Yeah.
it kind of catches your breath. You take it like, whoa, and bloodshed matters. And we have become so desensitized to that.
Yeah. Bloodshed and life taken means a sacrifice for us. So every time you slaughter a hen or a rooster for meat, you are sacrificing its life for your nourishment. So you do that with the all. You don't play around with the meat. You know, I always feel so Americans just eat meat. They leave all this on the bones they throw away. Hurts me. This has been life sacrificed. You don't just waste it like that.
Yes.
Right. To us.
So, but for the American, they don't see the pain this animal goes through for their food. And then they deal with it the way they want. For us, handling meat has to be with a lot of reverence. Because you rear this animal, you were attached to this animal. Even when it's being killed for your food, you feel for it, you feel its pain, so you don't handle its meat anyhow.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I'm going to have a hard time eating today. But now you take that, and how often are we irreverent with the sacrifice of Jesus?
Yeah, that's right.
And we live just so self-focused.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
And that goes further when it's a human being who has sacrificed his life for you. It just brings you the immense, awe at which you look at, Jesus' death. Every pictorial, every picture which you saw in the death of an animal, you just bring it to this picture. You just feel drawn to it. This is for you, you say. It doesn't leave any chance for you to say, I don't believe it, I don't see it, because you've seen it.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. So it just comes naturally that you'll be drawn to it. If it's done for me, usually it's inviting me to participate in this.
Beautiful. Lois, tell me some other stories that you've been playing around with that I didn't see that with my Western eyes.
All sorts of. Well, I had to laugh that I should give a little geography for not everybody knows where Uganda is. Well, it is directly south of Egypt. First Egypt and then Sudan and then Uganda, and Milly from northern Uganda. And so if you know there's the Nile River, it actually has its source in Uganda. I've been there with Milly to the source. But when Milly and I, we've been having these really fascinating morning Bible studies, and we were reading about the 10 plagues. And to her, it's like the plagues happen in her backyard. She's like, yeah, well, my mom, we had locusts when my mom was a kid. Now they spray for them, so they don't have them, but just name them off. Hail. Oh, yeah. Hail. Oh, God. And the Nile does turn red after a big rain. But then...
Because the soil, mud, or what?
Yeah,
okay.
It washes down. Yeah. And then tell them about frogs.
Yeah. When the soil, because of the torrential rains, it washes all the red soil in the Nile. It can be red for days, weeks. It can even be close to a month. The water will not be good for anything, not even the animals that live in the water. Then the frogs will get out. And you will see fish even die at the edges of the river.
Oh, interesting.
And the frogs, I think, because for them they can live out of water, they jump out. They will just be everywhere at the source of the Nile. They go to people's homes. And if you cook your food outside and you don't cover it, surely you'll find
A frog will
in the food. You have to cover your water pots. You have to cover everything because frogs will just be jumping everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And to the extent that especially our people work throughout the day in the fields, then they come home in the evening. And the mother has to make sure people eat before they sleep. And my mother told me there's this lady who poured the sauce. Normally the sauce is just beans. You remove the husk. What in Israel they would call what you eat with pizza. I mean, Peter's
Pita bread. Yeah.
pita bread.
The hummus.
Okay.
Sure, yeah. That's the easiest you can make. And you put it to cool because children will not eat it when it's very hot and it's already late, it's dark, and people are going to sleep. Children will sleep faster. So this woman put her pot, and they always tell this story so that be careful when you are cooking, even if it's going to be hot during the rainy season when the Nile has turned red. It's time for frogs. Always cover your food. A frog and jumped into the sauce. And then the woman now stirred it and served. You know, the man's is given separate.
Yep.
She eats with her children.
Getting dark out.
Yeah, it's dark, so she served this food, this sauce with frogs in it, 2 frogs.
The frog sauce.
That's right.
But you can see then the story of the 10 plagues come to life. It's something not to that extent. How would you, and this is maybe be an unfair question, but Moses squares off and he has this exchange and he turns the Nile to blood, the frogs, other things. But then finally the magicians are kind of doing the same thing. But finally they say, we can't do this. This is the finger of God. From your perspective, what's happening there?
You see, there are things that God alone does. No man can do it unless God orders nature to do it. And especially the death of the firstborns, that is the hand of God. That's not what men cannot do. And our people know that there are things, yes, they can do the sacrifices, like when there is a plague, you slaughter a sheep or a goat and put the blood, believing that this blood on the doorpost and on the doorway entrance to the house will stop the spirit of death from entering to afflict people inside.
And that's still happening today.
She did it as a kid.
We did it.
Changes theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are like, what? Why should the spirit of death only travel at night? Why not during the day? Is it because after you jump, you pass across this blood, you are protected? What is it? I didn't know what these things mean until when I started studying the scriptures intently. Actually, my perspective of reading the Old Testament changed from the U.S. Our missionary forebears had told us these practices are pagan. They should be thrown out. And if you have to accept baptism, one of the questions is, have you discarded all these practices and left them behind? You will say, yes, I do. Mm-hmm. That's when they only baptize you. But then when I came to Western and Tom Bogart is teaching us and is I just find the exact things my grandfather was doing. And I'm saying, now, then when I tell my story, he will ask me to stand up and repeat it for everybody to hear. And then even one time he told me to teach about gleaning from the book of Ruth.
Yeah.
And he gave me that class to teach, and people were amazed because no children here go gleaning, no woman goes gleaning. America has plenty. So, and then he just let me to be the ones always to illustrate.
Well, give me some illustrations, because right now with our adult Bible study on Thursdays, we're going through the book of Ruth. So if there's any key insights, I'd love to hear them. So talk to me a little bit about gleaning.
You see, gleaning is always done by a desperate person, and there are people who have land and they plant a lot. And Boaz must have been one of those land owners. And he didn't plant little. And then the poor people who don't have will come and glean behind the harvesters. The gleaners do not join the harvesters. The harvesters have to go ahead with their harvesting. Then this poor woman will come behind and collect the leftovers. Those small ones which people just neglect and so on. You can glean the whole day and glean very little and go home with it. That's okay. That's the food you depend on.
Wow.
But Boaz here with his big heart says, give some for her, leave some heaps for her to cut from. And that was really special favor from the Lord. Many people will not give you much. They may make you glean the whole day. When they see you are gleaning is very little, they can add for you some. But they will ask the owner, can we give her something little? Then they will add for you, and you go home with at least enough glean to make the day's meal. And then tomorrow you come back.
And do the same thing. You
Do
can.
the same thing until this field is done. Then you relocate to another field. So this is majorly done by, women don't have land. They don't own land. Land is only owned by men. And when your husband dies, like Ruth and her mother-in-law, Naomi's mother-in-law, Naomi's land must have been taken over by
Somebody.
her husband's brothers. So she has nothing to depend on. So they will be year after year gleaning in people's field too. Yes, that's where they'll eat from.
This is what I get to listen to each morning.
Yeah.
Yep.
But with Boaz, you see the heart of God, of generosity and favor and kindness.
Yeah.
In a fresh way.
Yeah. And Naomi is surprised. Where do you get all this from? And when she hears about it, she started in her brain, following the line of this Boaz and say, you are right. This is a line of my husband's.
Our kinsman.
Yeah, it is a kinsman.
Well, what's fascinating is reading through that, because we're working through that on Thursdays. You hear that she comes from that first gathering, Ruth, and she's got her shirt like full. But I'm thinking, from a Western mindset, that doesn't seem like a lot of food for me, right? But it's a daily thing, a daily going back and
For today. Tomorrow you go back for another. You take another little for tomorrow.
God provides for our daily bread.
And that's just one thing I've realized is simply give us this day our daily bread. Very much is the prayer of the day. Everybody is thinking about what will I, and actually, when Stephen, her friend, who now of course is the Archbishop of Uganda, when he was going home and he was in my Bible study, you could see what Milly does. Our other Ugandan friends, Milly is the queen of really great insights, but the other guys would add these little things in there too. And so I got to be friends, and when they were leaving for home, and I said, "Oh, Stephen, what will you remember most about America?" And I thought he'd say, "Oh, the elephant ears at Tulip and something like that." And his answer was, "I will always remember that for 1 year, I did not have to worry about what I would eat each day."
Wow.
I'm like, cool. That really just knocked me over. It's like, wow. And then I was reading that in Asia, a standard thing that you say, like, how do you do? Or, making conversation is, did you have rice today? Because that is asking if somebody's eaten today is a thing to say, because it is a major question in everybody's life. And so it changes how you read your Bible.
Yes, it does.
You aren't kind of coming at it with your wealth. Your
It's
why
hard.
doesn't God allow me to do the things we wealthy people do? You realize, okay, that's a major.
It is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. So you're writing this book together. I look forward to reading a manuscript soon. When it's all done, what are you hoping the readers get from it?
Well, you already hear me saying one thing that has been healing in myself is, instead of saying the good news begins in Matthew, I would say the good news of the Bible begins in Genesis.
Yes.
And that all of a sudden, that the 80% of the scriptures that I avoided, I would say some of my Reformed friends, they went to Christian school, they learned a lot more than I did. I grew up in a Lutheran background where, and Lutherans were kind of glad to be done with the Old Testament.
Just focus on the New Testament.
And now I realize that's kind of a, no. It's a rootless existence, and there's so much wonderful material in there that, and to love the people there. That's, when we read about one of the controversies that has gone on is about, I guess they have the Handmaiden's Tale. I have never seen this movie or whatever. Handmaidens just make everybody crazy. And who are these handmaidens that you hear about in the Old Testament? You know what? Milly had handmaidens. Tell us, what's a handmaiden, Milly? I guess I'm giving you an insight, but it changes how you read the scriptures when you realize, actually, a communal culture sends their daughters, when they know that a woman has had a baby. It's hard after you have a baby, or right after you get married. It's hard to run a household. We're going to send our daughter over. She's going to live with you and help you. That's what. Yeah.
More of a community rather than our individual culture.
We're enslaving and abusing people. No, how about community?
It's so stricken when I hear these debates in the conferences, which I missed last year. People just go there to fight battles. But a handmaid is a helper, a helping hand. It's not a slave. You don't buy her with money, or you don't even pay her for her service. She either is sent by her parents to give you help. When you get married, they always send you with a handmaid, because you are entering into an institution you've never been part of. And things may be difficult for you in that strange home. That's a new home. You've never been part of it. So the weight of newly married woman, you have to wake up every morning, you sweep the compound, you fetch water, all these things. They will send you with girls who will help you to get used to the life.
Yeah.
And give you helping hands. Then when you get a child, in pregnancy, this first pregnancy, or newly pregnant, you are not feeling well. Sometimes, you are just down syndrome. These are the handmaids who will help you.
The handmaiden.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? The family.
In our culture? Yeah.
Can you imagine? And And then when you give birth, still they will need extra handmaids for you to cope with a new baby, all that, for you to recuperate and get there. There need to be handmaids helping you in the household chores, even your gardens and so on. So for us, when I'm done, if I was in the village, not even in Kampala, my husband's sister gave birth, and my daughter had to go, Comfort had to go and be a handmaid in her home to give her help. It's not painful. It's not slavery.
It's just community done together.
You imagine that. And so you see these pictures of community and we're like, oh, slavery and abuse. Very slavery and abuse.
So for me, when people are thinking about, oh, what horrible things are happening in the Old Testament. But for me, when I read, I'm not a scholar of New Testament, but I preach from New Testament too. I always find the roots of these ideas in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, before that helps me how to explain them better. So for me, even Jesus' words, when you read them, the parables,
They have context.
this is total clear text. Yes, cultural things for teaching people. And our people teach true stories. That's why I gave around 50 stories which our people tell. And every story has a lesson to go. That's just exactly what Jesus was doing. And I just see Jesus' way of teaching, sitting on the mountain, teaching people sitting down there. All these are how my people taught, especially young people who are of age, who are going to prepare for marriage. They are taken. The boys are taken. They are put in their small hills there. They sit, the elders sit and teach them how to be a man. So I'm just saying Jesus is just doing exactly what my cultural people are doing. And then when people are saying I have difficulty with the Old Testament, I'm just saying getting the New Testament as it is gives you a superficial understanding of the good news.
We need it all.
We need it all. And it helps the culture.
When should your book be out? When are we hoping for that?
Fall of 2027.
Fall of 2027. All right. So we might see some manuscripts before then.
That's right. We're working on it. Milly has poured herself into many pages of. She says, "Lois, ask me questions," and then she takes lots of answers, and we have more conversations. And so, I have an abundance of Milly's wisdom that I will try to form into a fun and wonderful book.
Well, in closing, you've heard me kind of say the last couple of weeks here at church, we want more people reading Scripture together in community. And sometimes it's such a struggle for Westerns because it's like we just need the right answer rather than approaching the text with curiosity and playfulness and what's going on. And so we look forward to seeing this book to help us do that. So I want to say thank you for partaking today. And I hope those who are watching, you have a curiosity and you are looking for the fall of 2027.
Yeah, I know. It seems too long from now. I'm sorry. It will come.
And give me the title that it's supposed to be again. I always
in our hearts, it is Reading the Bible as an Insider.
Reading the Bible as an Insider. And we're going to invite you, Providence, and all those who are watching to keep on reading the Bible as an insider. Be playful, be curious, read it in community because that is so important. And as a part of Providence Threads, again, this season, we're all about thinking and talking about what does it look like to multiply disciples. That's what we're doing here, multiplying leaders, multiplying new ministries and new churches. The world needs Jesus Christ. I think we'd all agree with that. So if you like this, if you found anything beneficial, please like it, send it to a friend. We want to help spread the word and share on Providence Threads how God is weaving these stories together. Grace and peace. We'll see you at the next episode.